Karen Friedman Agnifilo from Legal AF. Thursday is a huge day because there's going to be two criminal hearings going on at the same time in state court, one in New York and one in Georgia in front of Judge McAfee in the Fulton County case with Fani Willis, who's bringing the state version of the election interference case against 18 defendants. How does Trump choose which case he goes to and which trial he goes to? Because defendants are supposed to be at both. It's supposed to be at all hearings or everything involving a criminal case, and judges require them to be there. But these are scheduled for the exact same time. The New York one is at 10 o'clock in the morning here in New York in state court in front of Judge Juan Merchan, where Judge Merchan is going to set a trial date and determine what the motions are going to be and what's going to be allowed in, what's not going to be allowed in, etc. Just the regular motion practice. And so we'll see if the trial is actually scheduled for March 25th. But the one that is really interesting to me is the Fani Willis, Fulton County, Georgia case, because that's going to be very telling to see how Judge McAfee is going to rule. He's going to hold a hearing about whether Fani Willis and Nathan Wade should be disqualified because of their romantic relationship that they're apparently in, that they have admitted to at this point. And that is going to be broadcast on the MeidasTouch network for all the world to see, because Judge McAfee broadcasts his courtroom. So we will all be watching that together. And one of the defendants, Mr. Roman, started this whole thing and filed this motion making these accusations, essentially saying that that there's this inappropriate relationship between the prosecutors, right? Fani Willis, who's the elected DA, and Nathan Wade, who's the special counsel or the special assistant DA that she hired to help prosecute this case. And since then, people have called it a scandal, that this is disqualifying. To me, it's nothing but salacious gossip. It has nothing to do with anything. And when you actually look at the law, it doesn't require anything close to disqualification. I don't even know why they're having an evidentiary hearing, but hopefully Judge McAfee doesn't allow this to turn into a giant soap opera. But apparently, just in case those of you who don't know and aren't keeping track of it all. So Fani Willis has 18 defendants, if you remember. 4 have pled guilty already, and 6 have joined Mr. Roman in his motion to disqualify, including Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and a couple of others, Jeffrey Clark and some others. And the others, so that's about 10, I think, if you count the ones who pled guilty and the 6 who have joined this motion. So there's 8 who did not join this motion, and I don't know why they didn't join this motion. Is it possible that they are in negotiations with Fani Willis to potentially cooperate, and therefore they didn't join in this motion? Or who knows? It could be, truthfully, I'm just speculating and thinking out loud. I have absolutely no idea why they didn't join these motions, which I think is sort of strange. The whole motion is frivolous, in my opinion, and not within the law or the legal bounds of what would even come close to disqualification. So I'm not really sure why there is a hearing. But Judge McAfee said that it is possible that Fani Willis could be disqualified from the case. And the evidentiary hearing will be to investigate these claims that include a romantic relationship. And so what the initial allegation was with this was that this was an improper, clandestine, personal relationship that tainted the case. Willis took her a few weeks to acknowledge the relationship. And the judge said it's clear that disqualification could occur if the evidence produced demonstrates an actual conflict of interest, which it won't, or the appearance of one. That is a little bit trickier because the appearance of one, and that's very common. The appearance of impropriety is the same as actual impropriety. But let's look at other instances where the appearance of impropriety did not end in disqualification. The one that jumps to mind as plainly as day is Clarence Thomas and his wife on January 6th, right? She was instrumental in organizing the events of the ellipse and the insurrection, yet he has no problem sitting and hearing evidence and ruling on evidence involving Jan 6. But Fani Willis, who's in an adult consensual relationship with somebody who's on the same side of the V, right? It's the state of Georgia versus Donald Trump and others. As long as you're on the same side, there's no problem whatsoever. But even if you're on opposite sides, the law even says that's not an automatic disqualification in Georgia. But you shouldn't date the judge on your case. You shouldn't date the defendant. You shouldn't date a witness, and you shouldn't date a defense attorney, because all of those would pose, a juror would be probably, that would get you in a lot of trouble. So there's a lot of relationships where it would be a problem, but I don't see how this one is. Office romances happen all the time, and it could create an HR problem for sure, but I don't see how this is a grounds for disqualification. But anyway, so he's holding an evidentiary hearing that Michael Roman will have to has the burden of going forward and making these allegations, and he's going to call witnesses. And the hearing will focus on whether there are any facts to bring about disqualification. So one of the things they'll talk about is, was there a relationship? Was it romantic or non-romantic? When did it form? Does it continue? And I don't, again, know why this really all matters, but that's what they're probably going to establish. Fani Willis has called her decision to have this relationship a mistake, that she is imperfect, that she's flawed. If I were her, I wouldn't even go down that path. I don't see it as anything that she has to apologize for, but I'm definitely in the minority, because a lot of people think this is scandalous. But again, I just don't see why. And Mr. Roman, defendant Roman, has subpoenaed multiple witnesses, and Judge McAfee has declined to quash these subpoenas. That's what you do when you subpoena somebody, and you can move to quash the subpoena and say that I don't want to come and I don't want to have to be there. Judge McAfee has declined to quash them. And when Fani Willis, Nathan Wade filed an affidavit admitting to the facts of their relationship, including that it happened after he started working there, and also saying that there was another allegation that he's getting paid a lot of money and that he took her on lavish trips with the money. So there's this incentive for her to have, I can't even say it out loud because I'm not exactly sure what the financial incentive is. But they put those facts on the record too, that she has some kind of no, they would go on trips together, but they would each pay for themselves. It was a mutual relationship where they both paid for things, and that she has money, he has money, and they each have enough to pay for themselves. So, but I guess she had to put that on the record, and Judge McAfee still said, despite this affidavit by Nathan Wade putting all these facts out there, that there still should be a hearing. How did you sleep last night? If you answered not so great, just okay, or don't ask, guess what? You're not alone. 1 out of every 3 Americans report being sleep deprived, and your sheets could be the problem. The wrong sheets can trap body heat, leaving you boiling 1 minute and freezing the next. The solution is Cozy Earth bedding. I know, to me, a comfortable bed and great bedding, there is nothing better, and it's the difference between a great night's sleep and a not so great night's sleep. And so I am thrilled that Cozy Earth Bedding is our sponsor. I love that their sheets are incredibly soft, means a lot to me, and breathable. I have the best night's sleep imaginable with these Cozy Earth life-changing, amazing, luxurious sheets. They're the best-selling bamboo sheets that are made from 100% viscose from bamboo, which makes them naturally temperature regulating and breathable, so you'll sleep more comfortably all year round. Cozy Earth sheets are uniquely soft and only get softer with every wash. What's better than that? The brand has made Oprah's favorite things list now 5 years in a row. That's a great endorsement. And it comes with a 100-night sleep trial, which means you have up to 100 nights to sleep on them. Wash them, use them, try them out. And if you're not completely in love, just return them within the 100 days for a full refund. And their products include a 10-year warranty against defects. Whether it's the luxury bedding, ultra comfortable loungewear, or plush bath towels, you'll love shopping at Cozy Earth. So if you've never tried Cozy Earth, I've got some awesome news. You can save 35% off Cozy Earth right now, but hurry, this offer won't last. Go to cozyearth.com/legalaf and enter the promo code legalaf at checkout for up to 35% off. That's cozy, COZY earth.com/legalaf and use the promo code legalaf at checkout. One of the other issues that Michael Roman and the other defendants said was that the only reason, Fonnie Willis hired Nathan Wade was because he's not qualified and she just hired her boyfriend so he can make lots of money. Well, one of the things that Judge McAfee took off the table is Nathan Wade's qualifications and said, look, as long as the guy has a bar card, that's all that matters. It's within her discretion who to hire. But P.S., he is, I don't know him personally, but I've heard from lots of people that he is extremely well respected. And in fact, Roman's defense attorney, the woman who made this motion, was a big supporter of his when he ran to be a judge. And she even wore a T-shirt with his name and was a huge campaign supporter. And so the fact that she now says he's not qualified, I find very interesting. But let's look at what Georgia law says about disqualification. Essentially, there are rules, and all DA's offices have rules about gifts and how much you're allowed to. I think it was like $15. You can go out to lunch with someone and they can buy you lunch, but other than that, you have to disclose it. So I always had a policy when I worked at the DA's office: no gifts, period, full stop, from anybody. I always paid for myself, went Dutch, because it's just, why even have that be an issue? But examples of cases where there has been disqualification have been are things like if you represented someone in private practice previously, you can't then become their prosecutor. If there's an employee who is being prosecuted by the office, like one of the staff members, a lot of times the office would just would disqualify themselves and move to recuse and ask for a special prosecutor. Sometimes if an employee is a victim, not always, because it just depends. If the office is big enough, you can give it somewhere else. Or if the family member of an employee is being prosecuted, typically you would see disqualification or recusal. We did it all the time when I worked at the Manhattan DA's office. In fact, my husband was a criminal defense attorney on many of the cases before the office, and I would personally recuse myself from them, which was easy to do because the office was big enough. But if Cy Vance's wife, who was not a defense attorney, and he was the Manhattan DA, he would have to recuse himself. The whole office would have to recuse himself. So it's trickier because she's the district attorney, but again, they're on the same side of the V, so it makes no sense. And there just really doesn't seem to be a conflict of interest here. There's no conflicting loyalties that could prejudice a defendant and lead to an improper conviction. And Georgia law, like I said, is exceptionally narrow and really doesn't, the grounds for qualification in Georgia have to do, there's two different grounds where you could be disqualified: if there's misconduct, like forensic misconduct, which obviously doesn't occur here, or if there's a conflict of interest. And when there's a conflict, the prosecutor has acquired a personal stake in the defendant's conviction. And it requires more than a theoretical or speculative conflict. It's an actual conflict that must be involved. And there are case law in Georgia that talk about that. There's several categories of conflict under Georgia law. So like I said before, if the prosecutor previously represented a defendant as a defense attorney, then that wouldn't be okay. If a prosecutor is a fact witness in the case against the defendant, like say they're an eyewitness, like say they saw something or part of it, then that would be, they can't then prosecute the case if they're also a witness, a fact witness, and would have to testify at trial or could be called as a witness. If there's number three is if there's a relationship with the victim, such as a close personal relationship with a victim or a witness, that could get you disqualified. Or if a special prosecutor is paid by contingency only, meaning if there's you only get paid if there's a conviction, but you don't get paid if there's an acquittal. That creates a conflict because your duty, you have an interest in not in justice and to the public, but to getting paid. And so that's why when you have a special prosecutor, it has to be hourly. Judge Fani Willis was, just to remind everybody, she was disqualified in an earlier case where Judge McBurney, who oversaw the special grand jury presentation in this case, disqualified her from prosecuting Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones because Fani Willis had held a fundraiser for his rival for state senate. And Jones was the target of the special purpose grand jury. And McBurney wrote that a criminal prosecution cannot be burdened by legitimate doubts about the DA's motives because any public criminal investigation into Senator Jones benefits Bailey's campaign, and the DA openly supports him and held a fundraiser. So the prosecutor has a duty for justice, not just to convict. And so she was recused or disqualified from that case. I wonder if that's why Judge McAfee is even holding a hearing here, because she already had one mistake. But what is it about a romantic relationship that makes it different? Like, say they were close friends who went on vacation together. Like, say they'd have to go out to dinner together sometimes. There's something about just the fact that it's romantic that makes it salacious. But Georgia courts have rejected that the notion that romantic relationships between attorneys are a basis for disqualification, absent a showing that there are special circumstances that exist that prevent an adequate representation of the client. And the Georgia Supreme Court even held that married attorneys on opposing sides of litigation don't suffer from a conflict. I think that's a little bit strange. I don't know how that works. But I guess if the defendant agrees and waives any conflict, I suppose, then you could do it. But like I said, that's even more lenient than New York law because we wouldn't do that, at least not in Manhattan. And as I said, Wade received an hourly wage. It was not a contingency. And just so you know, the another special prosecutor on the case, Anna Cross, was also paid the same amount, $250 an hour. Private practice lawyers call that low bono, not pro bono, which would be for free, but $250 an hour is actually quite low as an hourly wage for an attorney of the stature that Nathan Wade has, or any private attorney, really. And records from the Georgia Attorney General show that P.S. in Georgia, they have engaged hundreds of special prosecutors in 2023 and in 2022. And in fact, 18 special assistant attorney general across the state were paid $250 an hour. Some made over $1,000 an hour. So again, this is much ado about nothing. And the only two Georgia cases where prosecutors were disqualified because of the special prosecutor being appointed were these contingency type cases. So just be thinking about that when you watch the hearing, and let's see where Judge McAfee goes by this. Is he going to make them put on the record the nature of the relationship, the financial, like if they went traveling together, who paid for what? But Fani Willis has her own money, has her own big job, and I don't see the financial incentive. But let's see what the hearing is. Let's all watch it together, and then we'll report on it. I'm Karen Friedman Agnifilo with Legal AF. Again, Thursday morning at 9:30 Eastern. Tune in to the MeidasTouch network on YouTube, and you can watch the hearing live along with everybody else.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.